In my last video, I showed you Project Looking Glass, a classified machine built underground at Area 51 that could view the future, and every single timeline they fed into it ended the same way. The elite losing control, the old system collapsing, and the truth coming out. They couldn't change what they saw, so they built another machine, not to view the future, but to punch through reality itself and to find a timeline where they could potentially win. And that machine is called CERN, a particle accelerator that shoots protons close to the speed of light. And the connection I found to the looking glass technology, the financial reset, and what's happening with XRP and the rest of the crypto market right now is absolutely insane. So comment 777 if you're feeling blessed, if you're feeling bullish, and let's run it. Alright, bull runners, welcome back to the channel. So, CERN has been around since the 1950s as a nuclear research organization, but the important part is what they built later, because in 1998 they started building the Large Hadron Collider that smashes particles together at 99.99% of the speed of light to apparently figure out what reality and matter is made of.
Here, on the border between France and Switzerland, is the biggest science experiment ever built. It's this huge tunnel, over 100 meters underground and 27 kilometers long, running under nearby homes and businesses and farms. And inside that tunnel, scientists put a long blue tube, big enough to crawl through. And inside that tube, they put two pipes that they keep colder and emptier than outer space. And down those pipes, they fire particles smaller than atoms, in opposite directions, pushing them faster and faster and faster until, when they're almost at the speed of light, they smash together.
Now, a Swiss scientist by the name of Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger spent 25 years at the University of Geneva and worked on radionuclear emergencies. And that got her close to CERN and gave her access to information from the inside. And the things she heard and saw were absolutely insane.
I have many witnesses who are very reliable, who told me that under the lake there is one of the main CIA bases. There is a city under the lake that is more than 300,000 people.
That's Lake Geneva she was talking about. And I actually went to Geneva and I took a boat across the lake, which lies right next to CERN on the border between Switzerland and France.
And you tell me about those 17 dimensions. How far did you explore? That's when they talked about the portal. They described that they are time portal. They're going to subatomic level. There are beings from portals coming in and out.
So a scientist with 25 years of credibility says on camera that CERN has a portal. Interesting. And the same institutions she worked for decades started targeting her, and they wanted to destroy her career overnight. So why would an organization be so adamant about destroying someone's career if the information wasn't true? But CERN's own director for research, Sergio Bertolucci, even said, out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it, when talking about the nuclear particle collider. Now, in my last video, I showed you Project Looking Glass, a classified device built underground near Area 51 that let the people running it view the future. Different timelines, different decisions, different outcomes, all fed into the machine and observed. And no matter what they put into it, it all collapsed into the same future, one that the elite couldn't change. So, what do you do when you can see the future ending badly for you, but you can't change it? Well, you then try to build a machine that can, a machine powerful enough to smash through the fabric of reality itself and punch into a different timeline, one where you have the opportunity to win. Now, if your model of the world runs on controlling the masses, and you realize that this inevitable future that Project Looking Glass shows, a great awakening, well, could it be possible that this nuclear collider in CERN has anything to do with this? Well, it had its first run in 2008, but it wasn't the only nuclear collider that turned on during this time. China fired up their nuclear collider in 2008 as well, and then Russia ran theirs in 2010. So there were multiple nuclear colliders apparently, all smashing particles simultaneously around the world, all doing things with matter that had never been done in the history of the universe. And right around this time, people started noticing something really strange. Thousands of people shared identical memories of things that, according to the news and according to history, had never happened. For example, the Bernstein Bears, Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, movie lines like Forrest Gump never saying life is like a box of chocolates. We're talking about things that millions of people could quote word for word that are not the way that they remember them. Entire logos, names, geography, things people are certain about, suddenly different in this timeline. It's as if someone went back in time and changed the original, but left the memory in the minds of millions of people intact. What they call this is the Mandela effect.
It's because every time they use their particle accelerator, people start reporting having strange dreams, disassociating with time, and having Mandela effects.
This Mandela effect, they put the news and they say, no, it was always there, and you start doubting about your past.
Bill Wood, the insider who worked directly on Looking Glass, said in the same interview in my previous video that it was the nuclear collider that did it. That they changed the weight of a single electron inside that machine and it knocked us into a completely different parallel universe of reality. Now, if this sounds crazy, I completely understand, but hang with me for a second. Because we're talking about one electron, the smallest change you can possibly make to matter. And Bill Wood says it was enough to shift the entire universe. But here's the thing, it didn't work. The crack showed up, the glitches appeared. But the future in the Looking Glass showed them still losing everything and getting everything revealed in the Great Awakening. They made a crack in reality, but they still couldn't change the final outcome. So, if they couldn't escape it, no matter what parallel reality they tried to shift the world into using this technology, then maybe they could destroy it, burn the whole thing down, and start over. And when you look at what I'm about to show you, that's exactly what it looks like. Because outside the entrance to CERN, there's a statue of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction, the destroyer of worlds. CERN says it just represents the dance of subatomic particles, but when Oppenheimer watched the first nuclear bomb detonate in 1945 that he had helped create, the worlds he chose came from the same Hindu text as the god Shiva.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
And CERN is literally built directly on top of a town that in the Roman times was called Apollyon, named after Apollyon. And if you don't know who Apollyon is, in the Bible, Revelation 9:11, he's the angel of the bottomless pit, the destroyer, one of the most powerful and terrifying figures in all of Christianity. And if you look at CERN's logo, it's 3 overlapping 6s hidden in the design. 666, the number of the beast, the mark of the Antichrist, the single most feared number in Christianity. And in 2016, a video leaked from inside the facility showed cloaked figures, what looks like a ritualistic ceremony in the courtyard, right in front of the Shiva statue at midnight, and inside one of the most secure scientific facilities on Earth. But CERN said it was just a prank made by some of the scientists. Now, think about what I just showed you. They put a statue of the destroyer of worlds right outside of the front door. They built the machine on top of an ancient Roman temple dedicated to the angel of the bottomless pit from Revelation 9:11. They hid the number 666 in their logo. Their own research director said on record that something might come through the door that they're opening. A scientist with insider knowledge says they're using portals inside the facility, and then a video leaked of a ritual is happening at midnight right in front of that statue. And then they tell you it's just a science experiment or a prank. Now here's where the timing becomes impossible to ignore. Because CERN has been running the Large Hadron Collider since 2022 in what they call Run 3, but on March 7th, 2026, they kicked it into a gear that nobody's ever seen before. They called it a short but intense final run, the most powerful experiments in the collider's history, pushing the machine harder and further than it's ever pushed before. And then in July of this year, they'll shut it all down. They call it a long shutdown 3. The machine goes dark until 2030. 4 years of silence. Now, think about that for a second. They fire it up, they run the most intense experiments in the collider's history, and then they immediately shut it down for about 4 years. And look at what's happening right now across the globe. Everything the Looking Glass showed is playing out. The Epstein files are being unsealed, UFO disclosures are happening, war is breaking out across the world. But not only that, the elite are also losing control of the financial system because the Bank of England's mandatory gateway for the new payment system globally is being released this year. And when the Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank move from testing to full enforcement of what many believe is the replacement infrastructure for the entire global financial system. Now, if you remember the first year CERN started their collider, it was in 2008. And do you know what else happened in 2008? Obviously, the entire global financial system nearly collapsed. Markets crashed worldwide.
On 1.7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered this.
Also the year that the Bitcoin white paper was published, coincidentally enough. The crash of the old system and a beginning of a completely new financial system appeared the exact same year that CERN turned their collider on. But back in 2008, they were forced to hold back. Legal complaints were filed in European courts to stop them from using its full power.
In 2008, formal legal complaints were filed in European courts to stop CERN from turning on the collider. The argument? Even if the chance was extremely small, the risk was unacceptable.
But now, in 2026, they're doing the most intense experiments ever run. The same year the new financial system goes live, and then it gets shut down for 4 years. Now, I'm not guaranteeing what I found here is the truth. This is all educational purposes and entertainment purposes only, so you should obviously do your own research, and you can make up your own mind from all the evidence that I've shared. But if the looking glass technology was correct, if it was right, and if everything I've shown you suggests it was, then the elite already know the outcome is locked in place. They can't change it. CERN couldn't break through to a different timeline that would change it. And all parallel realities lead to the same exact outcome. So they stopped trying to prevent the reset and they started positioning themselves for it instead. And that's why Goldman Sachs just disclosed over 150 million in XRP exposure. That's potentially why Deutsche Bank is integrating Ripple's technology for cross-border payments. That's why 7 XRP ETFs are live in America right now. That's why Ripple just launched their entire financial stack in Brazil and joined Singapore's central bank sandbox. They're not guessing. They're building the infrastructure for the world that comes after the reset from the same city where CERN sits. Now here's the secret they're desperate to keep from you. This isn't about XRP hitting a high price so that you can then sell it back to them for their diamond paper dollars. That's the trap. If you're just holding a bag of crypto waiting for a moonshot so that you can then cash out back to cash, you're missing the entire point of what the looking glass showed and the entire point of the Great Reset. Because the real war isn't about price, it's about the yield. In the old system, the banks take your deposits and then they earn yield in the background and they give you a fraction of a percent. And that's how they've controlled everything for decades through the fractional reserve banking system. It's called yield gate. But in the decentralized future that the looking glass showed, the power to earn that yield gets handed directly to the people. And that's exactly what they've been trying to stop. That's why the banks have been fighting the Clarity Act. You see, the elite don't hope that price just goes up. They build systems that pay them regardless of what the market does in the short term. Whether the market goes up, sideways, or down, they control the liquidity and they control the yield. And as long as you're just a holder sitting there watching charts, waiting for them to move the market for you, they stay in complete control. So the choice isn't what to buy right now or what to sell. The choice is how do I position myself to become my own bank and earn yield before the Great Reset has taken place and it's too late. That's why we built the Altcoin Pro Accelerator, because we realize that the future is accelerating so fast to the point where average everyday people are being forced to wake up in this great awakening. And inside of our collective community that we built what's called the SGS system. This is the architecture that we use to move you out of the passenger seat and into the pilot seat of your own portfolio and your own future. What we do is we help you build a portfolio that is decentralized and censorship resistant, where you hold your own private keys, not the banks, not the centralized exchanges, so they can't freeze your accounts during the reset. They can't take it from you. And then we help you activate the layers of the ledger that the institutions have been using to generate passive income on the crypto that you already hold that they're not telling the general public. So they never have to sell it for worthless cash. This is how you become your own bank, using the assets that you already hold long term to earn passive income. And finally, we implement the same capital efficiency models used by the most powerful family offices and institutions to compound your gains while protecting your capital and maximizing your upside while minimizing your downside. Now, I also have to be clear about how we operate because we only take on a limited number of new clients in our community to ensure the quality of our one-on-one coaching, our one-on-one support. So we don't outsource your future to a call center here. We have elite level coaches who work at the highest levels of finance to work with you directly to help you with your portfolio. So what I want you to do right now is ask yourself, are you ready to stop being a spectator in their Great Reset game? And are you ready to finally take a seat at the table during the reset? Because if you're done praying for a moonshot and you're ready to start generating institutional level yield on your portfolio with a team that actually knows what's happening behind the scenes with these projects, with these protocols, with these smart contracts, then what I want you to do right now is click the first link in the description of this video, watch the entire breakdown on the SGS system, and then book a free strategy call with either myself or an expert on my team. And just know that when you click that link, if the calendar is full to book a call, it just means that our one-on-one capacity is at its limit right now because we only open a few spots every single week. And once the calendar is full, it's completely full. So if you don't see any openings, then simply just check back 24 to 48 hours from now because some people do cancel their calls. But smart investors like you that schedule a call actually show up to the call because they follow through with their commitments. And that's the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people. Unsuccessful people, they dabble, they say that they're going to do something, and then they just never show up, they never follow through. But I know you're different, and that's why you're watching this video to this point, because the switches are being flipped one by one. It's not a matter of just one flip of the switch moment where XRP's price goes up. It's about all of these different switches that need to be flipped one after the other that creates a domino effect. And you have to decide for yourself right now. Do you just want to be a holder who has to ask a bank for permission to use your own money when you sell it back to cash, or a professional who owns the cash flow and the yield where they can use their active assets to earn yield like the banks are doing? Because I've made my choice. So click the link in the description, book your call, and I'll see you on the inside. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, share this with a friend, because in the next video, I'm going to go even deeper down the rabbit hole. What I found is absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm excited to share it with you. So as always, you know what to do. Stay bullish.